I am here to represent all Atlanta Hawks fans when I say we have a Trae Young problem. Look, I know the title looks a little bit crazy. I'm only here to blame Trae Young for a couple of reasons, which I'll name in a second, but for the most part, this is a video about the management and the coaching and everything that has gone around Trae Young. Because overall, I really like the guy. There's only two things that I really don't like about him. One being, last season when we were like, 3-5, he was saying the regular season was too boring after one playoff run, which is absolutely insane because there's so many stars who have made, insane playoff runs year after year after year and losing, and they don't say something like that. The regular season is boring, and it's not like we were beating teams by 20 or 30. We had a negative record. That was one thing I didn't like about Trae Young. The other thing was, when he choked in the Miami Heat series. Those are the only times I really didn't like Trae Young. For the most part, I think he's a really good star and a really good future player, and I just think, I'll explain the video. As most NBA fans can tell, we started, pretty mediocre so far. I think right now we're one game above, I think we're 15 and 14 or 16 and 15, one game above 500. And yeah, okay, we have been a little bit hurt, but pretty sure every single team has been injured. At least one of their top three players has been hurt for some time. And still teams like the Pelicans, BI has been hurt. The Grizzlies, Jaren Jackson Jr. has been hurt. So I don't want to hear any excuses. The Atlanta Hawks have been bad. Last season, before we got DeJounte Murray, before we traded our 3 first-round picks, we were only I think we actually ended the season, 3 games above 500? And so far through 30 games, we are 1 game above 500. So really, we're actually on pace to have almost the exact same record as last season. Which, yeah, isn't very good when you gave up so many picks. I think we gave up 3 picks and a swap for DeJounte Murray, who so far, he's been good, he's been solid. I don't think he's really been... he hasn't really solved too much, but then again, I mean, these are 2 stars who it's their first 30 games played together. But overall, there is a huge problem. And the biggest problem with the Atlanta Hawks right now is the salary cap and how much money we have. In the 2019 and 20 offseason, we had a lot of money to spend. I'm pretty sure we had the most money to spend in the entire league. So what did we do in that offseason? We signed Danilo Gallinari to $60 million and Bogdan Bogdanovic for $80 million. And our goal was to try and compete to make the playoffs. And I understand that, we were losing for 2, 3, 4 seasons in a row. We wanted to create some winning atmosphere. We wanted to get free agents, good free agents, to sign to Atlanta to play next to Trae Young. So we wanted to show that we could be a competent team without a superstar, and with a superstar, we could be elevated. But then, oh man, overachieving really killed us. Our expectation realistically was to be the 7, 8, or 9 seed, and we ended up being, the 5 seed? We beat the 4 seed Knicks in 5 games, we beat the 1 seed 76ers in 7 games, and we took the championship Bucks who won it all, we took them to 6 games, 2 of the games not having Trae Young. So the second that this run ended, our entire plan of eventually getting a superstar free agent, that was down the drain. We were ready to win now. We were ready to sign our players to multi-million-dollar. We were ready to sign Clint Capella to, I think it was the season after, but we signed Clint Capella eventually to $60 or $80 million of an extension. We gave John Collins $125 million. And last offseason, even though he wasn't even part of the first playoff run, he played amazing in last year's playoffs. DeAndre Hunter got an extremely large bag of over $100 million. Sorry, 4 years, $95 million, still close. But the problem with all this, and what it has to do with Trae Young, is Trae Young is not the superstar. When we drafted Trae Young in 2018, our expectation was not for him to be a top 5, top 6 player. I mean, when you're that small, only a player like Stephen Curry can do it. And I mean, really good guards have had deep playoff runs. We're talking about Harden, we're talking about Dame, but realistically, those players as your best player just isn't going to win a chip. Especially because, and I know people don't want to hear this, but forwards run this league. The most top-heavy superstars outside of Stephen Curry have all been either forwards or bigs because those guys don't get taken advantage of most of the time, unlike, a small guard like Damian Lillard, like James Harden, like Trae Young. And I'm counting Luka Doncic as a kind of guard forward because, he's 6'8". The goal was to get a superstar to sign with Trae Young, not for Trae Young to lead the way. And this also has to do with Trae Young because we signed this guy who's supposed to lead us and he's supposed to be our leader of the team. We signed him to over $40 million a year over 5 years. I forget the exact contract, but it's something near of a supermax. And he averaged 14 points per game. I'm sorry, I said I wasn't going to slander Trae Young in this video, but he averaged 14 points per game in a playoff series that went 5 games? Sure, he won 1 game with a buzzer beater. Yo, we were down 20 going into the 4th quarter. I went outside and just listened to music, and I didn't even pay attention to the game. I was depressed. I was playing Jungle by Drake. you know how bad it must have been. Because I don't miss any NBA games, even today, even in the regular season, let alone the playoffs. Now let's skip to another branch of the Trae Young problem, and that is coaching. The coaching in Atlanta has been absolutely terrible, and they just really haven't even been utilizing Trae Young to what he can really be. And I'm going to tell you why. So we started with a development coach in Lloyd Pierce, who was decent at developing players. He developed Trae Young. Would Trae Young have done it on his own? Probably, but I mean, he was there. But, you know, when we struggled, when we got, you know, Bogdan and Gallinari and we were ready to win, I think we also got Rondo, who we traded for Lou Will. I don't know. I mean, we had like a negative record through February, and that's when Lloyd Pierce got fired and enters Nate McMillan, the big root of the problem today. Let me remind you guys that Nate McMillan was an assistant coach. We hired him as an assistant coach, and the only reason he has a head coaching job right now is because Lloyd Pierce got fired, because he was that bad. But honestly, at this point right now, Nate McMillan has been just as bad. For starters, I want to start with this. The very head player, Trey Young, and the head coach, Nate McMillan, they should have a huge say in what happens in the front office. I'm just being completely honest, and maybe they even do, I don't know. But they need to be leaders, but especially the coach. The coach should know this. I know, you know, Trae really wants to get along with the teammates, but the coach needs to make the ultimate decision of getting someone traded off the team. John Collins or Clint Capella, the fact that they have been on the team for so long needs to go. You guys don't understand, if you're not a Hawks fan, you don't understand the amount of slander that John Collins has gotten with the amount of talent that he has. And I know a lot of Hawks fans that don't like John Collins right now, but you can't blame him. I mean, he went from being, you know, the second guy in usage in the entire team, running with the greatest pick and roll. I'm not gonna say Trae Young's the greatest pick and roll player, but he's a really good pick and roll player. You know, Trae Young and John Collins, I'm pretty sure it was Trae Young's second year, they had like the greatest pick and roll in NBA history, like statistically. And of course, who was their center? Well, their first center, I think, was Dwayne Dedmon, and then it was Alex Len. But what do Alex Len and Dwayne Dedmon have in common? Both can space the floor a little bit, and that's what really helped the John Collins Trae Young pick and roll. But then comes Clint Capella. Clint Capella, and I understand Clint Capella is still a good player, and I still kind of want him on the Hawks, but when we're not using him in a pick and roll, all he does is clog the paint. He doesn't really do anything good. I guess he'll get a couple offensive rebounds, but all of that was diminished. I mean, we're using John Collins right now like Jay Crowder. When Hawks fans say they want Capella gone, I mean, maybe some of them just really don't like Capella and they like Okongwu a lot more, but I just think John Collins and Okongwu kind of just fit together, because Okongwu this season has been one of the best mid-range center shooters like in the whole league. Which, by the way, the mid-range was something he never shot in any previous year, but now he's shooting it with confidence and it is amazing. But obviously, if you watched him, he fouls way too much to be an actual starting center. So the fact that we haven't either traded John Collins or someone who will actually stretch the floor, and that's actually their strength, and play more defense, or traded Clint Capella for a stretch big, because there's plenty of stretch bigs on the trade block. I understand maybe the Pacers like Miles Turner a little bit more now because he's playing better, but Miles Turner is the perfect fit next to John Collins, even though I think Clint Capella might be a little bit more consistent and better. Fit-wise, Miles Turner he fits amazing with the Hawks. Well, I kind of started this with talking about Nate McMillan. Yeah, Nate McMillan should be getting at least one of those two players traded, and he should be demanding that. I don't see why he's not. But his actual coaching is kind of horrible. I mean, I just don't really understand. I was watching the Magic game the other day. We were up like 13 with 3 minutes left, and we almost blew it. And one of the reasons is one of the hottest players, who AJ Griffin, had 19 points off the bench, wasn't closing the game. Bogdan was. I swear Bogdan had like 9 points. I just don't understand why we don't ride the hot hand, especially because Bogdan's the kind of a guy who doesn't always close games. Even though he hasn't been healthy, like even when he was healthy last season, Nate was kind of fine with just sitting. I just don't understand, if someone has 19 points and is shooting 8 for 12, I think he was like 4 for 6 from 3. I don't know. And then there was this quote, I'm going to put it up on the screen on the video, but Nate McMillan was pretty much saying that like this is a different decade. Like he said that just now yesterday, that he just realized that this is kind of a different decade of different basketball. Like he just now realized this. He was a head coach with the Pacers for a long time. How long has he been a head coach? And he's just saying this. He should know this. So let me get back to the main point of the video, and that is the Trae Young problem. Trae Young is not leading this team anywhere. We're not even losing, we're not winning, we're just being mediocre. I guess we have our pick this year, but in a couple years we won't. And the fact that each of our starters, besides DeJounte Murray, who's our second best starter, but each of our starters are getting paid over $20 million, and yeah, we're one game above 500. We could go on a run here for the next 3 games. I wouldn't really care. We have an easy schedule. This is bad news. I mean, from my perspective, the Hawks aren't going to get anyone in free agency. We're not going to get dramatically better. I mean, just look at our power forward and center, John Collins and Clint Capella. There's really not much room for improvement. I mean, I guess John Collins could get better of a 3-point shooter, but if we keep using him like this, it's not going to pair well. Trey Young right now, I'm pretty sure he's playing with a below average 3-point spacing, and it just isn't working out for him. I don't know what to do. And frankly, it's not my job. It's the GM's job. People are saying Trey Young's not a top 6 point guard. I'm going to disagree. I still have him over Kyrie Irving. I don't know how you have Kyrie Irving over him, but it's not looking good. And one more point before I wrap this video up. Trey Young, when you're as bad defensively as he is, you really have to utilize the time that he has on offense, because that's obviously, his best feature. So him working next to DeJounte Murray, even though he has been playing off ball and he's been playing decent, really should demand the ball more. I don't know. Is Trey Young really part of a championship core? But do the Atlanta Hawks really want that? Maybe the Atlanta Hawks just want to do what they did for the past 10 years before 2016, and they just want to make the playoffs and lose. They just want to be decent. I mean, you don't need to win a championship to be a successful NBA team. I mean, all you got to do is make money. That's what the owners want, right? I don't know. I mean, I haven't even been uploading YouTube videos for a long time, but this is definitely the last Hawks video I'm going to make for a long time because I'm trying to ignore this team. I'm trying to embrace myself as a Pelicans fan because I enjoy watching their team. Like even the Atlanta Hawks fans that I know, that are kind of ride or dies, they don't enjoy watching the team because it's not fun. I mean, we've seen Trey Young for so many years, and it's just it's the same thing over and over. He just shot chucks at the end of the games. Sometimes he makes it, sometimes he doesn't. There's not even any exciting players because John Collins was the excitement of Atlanta. The dunks that he would have, and he still has decent dunks for sure, but like it's not as much. We need that pick and roll back. Yeah, last game John Collins played at the 5 and Trey Young played the best he ever could. I'm not saying put John Collins at the 5, but if you had a center who could play defense and just sit in the corner, that would be amazing. Trey Young problem. I just kind of rambled, but I think next video I'm gonna have more structured. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, comment, and yeah, peace.